put always. Well, back Dr. Tawab, and through your eyes, and as Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt is, witnessing a top event, the World Youth Forum. This is an event that attracts the attention of the world, not only to Egypt, of course.
Right.
And this is an event that is awaited by the youth all over the world.
That's true.
So we had great memories in Sharm before, and the youth as well, attending this important forum that has developed actually and has had and left an impact on the youth around the world. How do you see the emergence of such a great forum from the mother of the world to the whole world?
Tagreed, this is very fascinating. This is very interesting event. This is one of the most interesting, internationally recognized by United Nations, by the way. Such an event which will be held, which is supposed to be held in Sharm el-Sheikh from January 10th to January 13th, few days. More than 5,000 participants are supposed to come and discuss and exchange ideas coming from more than 200 countries across the world. What does it mean? It sends a very clear, crystal clear message to the whole world that Egypt is also focusing on one of the strategic tools that we have today, which is youth. I do remember what Dr. Ahmed said before, when he said that if we would like to build a nation, if we would like to build a country, if we would like to formulate the future, then we have to focus on the youth. So it's not just about the event, but it's more about the exchanging views, it's more about the interaction. They are going to discuss very interesting topics as well, including, for example, COVID-19 issues, entrepreneurship programs, the social protection, climate change, very strategic topics that we need to discuss. So in such an event, we are involving the youth, all the youngsters coming from different international backgrounds to create that sense of diversity which Egypt needs nowadays, and that's why we have such an event which is very important and strategic.
It is very important and strategic, and as we have witnessed also in the message that was followed by Ambassador Higazi and what Egypt is doing for Africa, we find also the African youth at the Congress, and their presence is very important. We also have launched in Egypt back, as we remember together in 2018, the African Presidential Leadership Program that has been really very significant and graduating cadres and also preparing the African youth for leadership in their countries. Mind you that Nile TV International had conducted several interviews with the graduates of the African Presidential Leadership Program who told us about how beneficial was that program and how they did really benefit from what they learned at the National Training Academy here in Egypt. So how do you see the African youth presence and this sense of intermingling at the World Youth Forum?
I think that, and I probably would completely agree with what Mr. Ambassador has said right now, which is it's not just about the political or military relationship between both countries, but it's more also about the cultural, the social, and the religious dimension as well. And I think that it reflects, as we've been talking about very important topics there before, we've been talking about education and digitalization, and we also focused on the idea of the soft power of our country. So when we have such connection between both countries, it reflects to what extent that Egypt has that sense of soft power that can serve not just the Egyptians, but all the African brothers. So I think that it's more about having a bridge between Egypt and the African countries in order to serve the comprehensive process of development, of moving forward, of progress. And this is probably the core message of Egypt's efforts. It's not just to work in isolation, but just to have also connection and very strategic alliances with different African countries. We are supposed to have more than 2,000 African participants coming in Sharm el-Sheikh, exchanging views, discussing and interacting with the decision makers, having a direct and hands-on experience with politicians,
Yes.
with decision makers. So it is something that can be very influential, not just for the Egyptian youth, but for the African youth as well. We've been talking about the education perspective as well, and we said before that Egypt has a very powerful tool represented by Al-Azhar. So there is today a branch of Al-Azhar in Chad as well. This is a model or an example that we have, and I'm very sure that there are different branches of Al-Azhar universities in different African countries. So this is the point, to what extent that Egypt can extend its hand to support, to help, and to move forward together.
Yes, definitely. An African proverb is reading that tomorrow is belonging to all those who are preparing for it today. And we are preparing for tomorrow today.
Right.
And it has been on the top of the list, actually, and among the priorities of the president to build a better tomorrow for the Egyptian youth and the Egyptian human being, the Egyptian citizen. So building the Egyptian identity, the human identity, the Egyptian character has been among the priorities of the state, investing in the youth. Right. Since the president had assumed power, this has been happening. Africa is considered to be one of the most important destinations. Mind you, we could remember together how Egypt has been sending messages of achievements
Right.
in the voice of the African continent also during our presidency or chairmanship of the AU. Right. So this is going to continue with the panel discussions that are going to be held at the forum.
Right.
How do you think this mixture, this
Right.
great mixture of having the world youth and the African youth together, what can this bring out, in your opinion?
I think it sends a clear message that Egypt is just building a different concept of diversity. This is something very critical because it's also the dynamic force. This is the driving force to move forward, just to have different international participants. And this is also can be reflected when it comes to education. So we've been talking about that Egypt is very keen in bringing international students from different countries to be educated in our country. It also reflects that sense of the soft power, and it also sends a message that there is diverse environment that can help the process of the progress here. I think it also sends another message, which is if we would like to move forward, then we have to focus on the issues of youth. We have to provide them the support. And I think that there is very tangible mechanism that have been activated nowadays in order to help them to move forward. We can talk about how many youth that have taken probably very leading positions inside Egypt. For example, we have, when we have a close look at the map, then we can just see that there are today many governors coming from the youth category. We have ministers, deputies, we have minister assistants as well. So they are taking very leading position. That is something different from the past. So I think that African countries, the African brothers, that they are looking with admiration about what's happening here. And I think that there is a lesson here, which is we would like to work together, we would like to cooperate together in order to have the best achievement and the contribution, not just for Egypt, but also for the African countries.
Definitely, and we are working on that cause, having this sense of exposure, and with all the youth of the world coming to Egypt, and enjoying Sharm, and also brainstorming ideas. Definitely we're going to come out with a lot of achievements. Youth are the power. Youth are the positive vibes. Let's watch the upcoming report highlighting the 4th edition of the World Youth Forum. We'll be back.
The 4th edition of the World Youth Forum, or the WYF, will convene under the patronage of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in Sharm el-Sheikh from the 10th to the 13th of January. This year's round will discuss the impact of the pandemic, climate change, human rights, entrepreneurship, technology, 5G networks, digital transformation, distance learning, and the future of energy. The WYF offers an interactive platform that brings together young people from around the world and allows them to formulate recommendations and initiatives on a wide range of topics on the presence of world leaders, prominent decision makers, intellectuals, and influential figures. This year's edition will also include sessions on which entrepreneurs can share their experience, the challenges they faced, and their success stories with young people, and a special focus on the role of startup companies and small and medium enterprises and the ways they are coping with the economic repercussions of the coronavirus pandemic. The WYF website also lists a number of laboratory workshops in which young people seeking to start new companies can receive advice and support. Presentations during the 3-day forum will include ways to turn a business idea into an actual company and how to obtain the skill set needed to be a successful entrepreneur in a post-COVID world. Under the motto, "Arts and culture are part of the development in a human right," the forum will include for the 3rd time the World Youth Theatre, a youth hub, which brings together gifted artists to express their cultures through a wide range of activities, including music, acting, stand-up comedy, painting, dancing, and more. Artists from villages, including the Presidential Decent Life Initiative, will be participating in the theatre. For the 2nd time, the forum will include a dedicated platform on which people can share inspirational stories of achievement, hopes, dreams, survival, and even failure. It's worth mentioning that the United Nations Commission for Social Development hailed the first 3 editions of the WIF as an international platform, allowing for the discussion of contemporary issues and the role of young people in achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes, as the song has just referred to, "Sib basmetak yalla," leave your imprint. Well, leave your special touch. A very important message, actually, because this forum had actually left its imprint. And this special touch that we just watched on all those who attended, you know, you find them once again registering. And we were before an application that was introduced by the forum that is actually updating the people all around the world about its sessions and about its think tanks and main subjects and topics open into discussion. This sense of application is also very important for interaction.
Right.
I'm sure, Dr. Abdel Tawab, and you're a professor at the university, that lots of your students also had managed to follow this important forum, and some of them has attended.
Right.
Did they talk to you about the experience after attending this forum? What sort of impact did it leave on them and their peers?
Absolutely. And actually, but let me just make a comment here on what you said about the positive energy of the youth. That this is something very important. I think that we're going to connect that with the participation of the youth and my students when they were talking about that. And I have one of my students who is very influential activist when it comes to organizing such events, and so. Let me just tell you that the powerful sense that we have on the youth, number one, it's the concept of awareness, that sense of energy, that sense of ambition, and that sense of taking brave actions. We have to consider as well that about 70% of Egyptian population, they are from the youth. So we are talking here a very, very strategic point that we have. Now, what we really need is we would like to show that sense of caring, that sense of respect, that sense of containing to all of them. And I think that if we deal with such concepts, and I think that our country just taking very positive and I would say very huge leaps when it comes to taking actions with the youth in order to support and helping them as well. We have, as you said in your introductory part, there is the National Academy for Training the Youth, for example. There is the presidential programs as well in order to qualify the youth, in order to take leading positions. So I think that if we just consider all of that, at the end, that there is something very critical here that we have to reconsider again, which is the concept of awareness. Today, Tagreed, we are faced and we are surrounded by challenges online And I, for one, for example, I sometimes focus completely on the online world. So this is something very critical. Most youth today, that they are actively and positively interacting online. So that means that we also have to focus on something very important, which is called digitalized awareness. And this is something that we need to talk about in order to understand more about how the youth can think, can take a decision, and can move forward.
Yes, moving forward, it has been a leap forward, of course, and one of the main imprints of the special editions of the Youth Forum session entitled Ask the President, where His Excellency would answer with full transparency, directly, and all the questions of the youth in the different spheres, in the political, the economic, and the social dimensions, without any sort of barriers, and just directly. You know, this scene was never seen before. You know, it was introduced actually at this beautiful forum, and it was really praised by people around the world to see the President of the Republic answering questions in such a transparent manner. The significance of the Ask the President session, in your opinion, and how such sessions contribute in building this sense of trust, and with the youth, of course, and building the Egyptian character.
As you said now, Tari, very interesting word, the trust. So it's a trust, it's a transparency, it's a frankness, it's discussing everything with that sense of transparent sense. So this is something very important to consider as well. That is to have a direct contact between the decision makers and the youth. This is something that probably could be very important in order to make the youth feel enthusiastic and to have that sense of positive feeling. Because, as I said before, I'm not going to beautify the whole situation, but there are challenges. Yes, there are a few challenges, but we are just overcoming all of such challenges together. So if we just connect that for what's happening today in the world, we are just opening a gate for the youth in order to have international capacities, international opportunities, international standards of education, and international concept of interaction. This is what we really need. We would like to open the gate, as I said before, and build a bridge with the international countries in order to have that sense of exchanging mutual understanding, to have that sense of tolerance, and to have that sense also of open-minded perspective that can at the end include different cultures and different diverse background, and this is probably the bottom line of such event. We always say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So this is the right time now in order to help, in order to support, in order to give that sense of enthusiasm. And I stick to my guns and keep on saying that the best way here is just to provide them different mechanisms. As we can see today on the ground, we have, for example, the training programs in order to increase the awareness, in order to help them to have different opportunities in international markets. And this is connected with the education circle. We've been talking about the international education levels that we have today in Egypt. And I think that by having such awareness, by having such education, by putting youth in direct contact with the president and with the decision makers, that can really be very positive at the end to help them and to move forward and to achieve that sense of progress for our country.
Definitely. Well, last week during the Upper Egypt Week, the President had inaugurated dozens of social and economic development projects in 11 governorates of Upper Egypt. This in addition to inaugurating the first phase of the new Aswan city. The President has visited also an exhibit for handmade textile products. What was really very much amazing in its sense was the sideline meetings between the President also and the youth and the children of Aswan, beautiful Aswan. Remember that the World Youth Forum before was hosted by Aswan.
Right.
And we found also the youth of the world taking pictures from that beautiful scenery and from Aswan, from Egypt to the mother of the world, reaching the whole world. So today providing the youth with new opportunities and with the new cities, with New Aswan. Let's watch New Aswan in a beautiful filler. We'll be back. What we saw was beautiful Aswan. Thank you, Yasser Nabil, for the beautiful filler. Our director. If we're going to talk about the beautiful Aswan and the beautiful cities, the new cities of Egypt, we are building those new cities, and at the same time we are offering further job opportunities for the youth. We are attracting further foreign direct investment. We're building for the future. Yes.
That is, yeah. I think Tariq, that this is something very important. As you said, it is the long-term investment. This is the investment for the human capital. This is the investment for our youth. This is the investment in order to have that sense of building a new country, a new civilization. And the term that we keep talking about, the new republic as well. And so I think that this is the best investment. Talking about Aswan and Sharm el-Sheikh, this is a reflection of the historical dimension of our country. This is a marketing message to the whole world as well. It's also an invitation card for everyone who would like just to visit the country. And it also sends a message that Egypt is a welcoming country for different international participants to come and participate and visit and make the investment. We have another investment, as we said, which is the youth investment. And this is represented by different ways. One of them, for me, for example, as someone who is teaching in the field of languages and linguistics and the translation and interpreting, it's very important to consider education. So education, when it comes to today, for me as a professor in the university, I can see the challenges because there is dramatic transformation happening in the educational circles. We are moving from the traditional ways to the digitalized ways. Yes, there are some people who are just lagging behind, I understand that. But at the end, we're going to make the whole process at the end to be on the forefront and to make the job done in the accomplishing way. This is what we really need. Any sort of transformation happening across our history, it takes time, it takes efforts, but it happened at the end in a perfect way. So such a transformation, that this is a sort of investment, this is what we really need today, because we are moving to a new era, a new stage, and we would like to make our youth as a core point for our efforts and for our movements as well. So we would like to make our youth to be ready for the challenges, to have that sense of aptitude and to accept different cultural backgrounds. And this is a very important topic when it comes to the youth forum in Sharm el-Sheikh, because we're going to find different international candidates coming together, discussing together, and having direct discussions with the decision makers. So I think that this is something very important. And it sends, as I said before, it sends a very important message to the whole world, not just to Africa, not just to the Middle East, that Egypt is another international hub in the Middle East and probably in the world today. Yes,
definitely. And it's always an opportunity to know when you have guests around. It's always great to show them what is being done and to brainstorm together ideas. And the World Youth Forum is also going to be offering this sense of opportunity, because some of the sessions would be dedicated in order to notify the youth of the world of the sense of transformation of what is happening in Egypt, and also, as you've mentioned, the features of the new republic. Mind you, also telling them more about, for instance, very noble initiatives like the Decent Life Initiative, which I guess we have many also youth hands-on. In the Decent Life Initiative.
I think it focuses on the Egyptian character, building a new concept and having a new concept for the Egyptian perspective to build that sense of Egyptian mindset. I would probably talk about that this is reflecting the civilization dimension of the country as well. To have decent life initiative, that this is something very, very important. It sends another message. This is internal message from the government to the citizens that we do care about the living standards as well. I understand, yes, that there are challenging times. I understand that. But at the end, there is nothing that comes easily. I mean, we have to go through all of such challenges in order to make our country at the end to be on the top list. There are a lot of efforts that's being exerted nowadays, and I think that by having that cooperation among the different institutions, we are building today a connection, not just on the cultural level, not on the educational level, but also on another level, which is the mental level as well. We are working on building new awareness for the youth, and as you said before, that we have different categories for the awareness. We have the cultural, the economic, the social, the religious awareness, but the most important part here, and I probably might be obsessed about that, is the digitalized awareness. This is something very important today because we are witnessing a new transformation happening in our society. And I think that our youth, they can take up such a challenge and they can step up to the plate to say that we are ready in order to face all the future challenges, in order to make our country making something great, something accomplishing, and something that can be very contributing to all humanities, not just for Egyptians, but for every person in the world.
Yes, and from your words, Dr. Tawab, I guess that despite the COVID-19, but Egypt has managed actually to dazzle the whole world with lots of events that has been really actually charming, besides charming charm.
Right.
And the World Youth Forum is definitely part of those events. But we did have the Golden Mummies Parade, for instance, and the Rams Road that had really left an impact on people around the world. So how do you see such big events and their impact worldwide? And in what way do you think, of course, the World Youth Forum is on the list, in branding Egypt globally?
It works effectively. The international media channels today started to talk about such events, and it sends a marketing signature and a marketing sense that there is something happening here in this country. And I think that it also it works in a very positive track in order to attract investments to our country as well. So there is here short-term perspective and long-term perspective. For the short term, it's the event, but for the long term, that we have a plan in order to making the economic wheel to be more vibrant and to achieve that sense of progress. So I think that the world today is looking with admiration, if I would say so, for what's happening in this part on the Egyptian land, in order to probably take the same steps and to follow suit the Egyptian efforts, a country that is trying to send a peaceful message, a tolerance message, a message to help, to support, to cooperate, to serve at the end.
Definitely a very important message, and those are also the messages of the forum in itself, a message of peace and love and tolerance from Egypt to the whole world, a message of how the country today invests in its youth, which are considered to be its treasure and its sense of optimism for a brighter future. So inshallah tomorrow is going to be better. I thank you so much for coming, Professor Dr. Ahmed Tawab, Professor at Monofea University, reading with us a beautiful event that we are anticipating, the World Youth Forum, and also highlighting with us through your vision how the youth today are being invested in order to bring the best out of them. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. Always my pleasure to be with you, Tagreed.
Thank you so much, and I thank you, dear viewers, for joining us. And that was Wednesday Debate, and I'm Tagreed Hussein. Many thanks for watching.